dictate that piece of it so that we're not just constantly interrupting Deborah. Anyway, I am thrilled at the number of people who signed up to make Biscotti with Deborah. For those of you who don't know, Deborah Freedman moved back to Pittsburgh last year. She was going to be one of our contestants on our great Temple Sinai Bake Off. Just one more thing that got canceled this year. But Deborah is a great baker, and for those of you who really don't know, her husband is Rabbi Larry Freedman, who used to be Temple Sinai's rabbi and is now in charge of JJEP. And I'll talk a little bit more at the very end, but that's the end of me, and we will send it to Deborah. And you've got the floor, Deborah. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is so much fun, and I've never done cooking over Zoom before, so this is new for me too. And let me know if you need to see something better, or put something in the chat if you can't understand an instruction.
Okay. Tammy, you need to take me off of highlight or spotlight and put Deborah on.
Okay, so we're gonna make biscotti, which are an Italian cookie. I'm sure you all know what they are. If you ever eat mandel bread, that's the Jewish version of biscotti. This biscotti is more of an Italian version, so it's not as sweet and it's not as greasy or oily. There's actually, I don't think there's any fat in here that we're gonna use. No oil, no butter, no anything. So they are parov if you're doing anything with kosher. We're gonna do two ways. We're gonna make the first batch, which is going to be a lemon-based biscotti. And while that's in the oven, because they get baked twice. So while it's in the oven for the first baking, we're going to do a batch of chocolate. And then you may finish baking the chocolate later on, but we will sort of swap and do two flavors tonight. So I'm using a mixer. If you have a stand mixer, I would use one. If you have a hand mixer, that's fine too. In terms of other tools, you just need your general measuring cups and measuring spoons. We're going to need a lemon, which was on the ingredient list. And if you have any kind of a zester or a grater, because we're going to use the lemon peel and also the lemon juice. If you don't have one, you can use a box grater, or you don't have to do it at all. Maybe a paring knife, but I'm going to use some kind of a grater or a zester. So I'll give people a minute to maybe find that. Like I can't tell if people are awake getting stuff. Okay, so all right, we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. So let's all preheat. And you should also have ready a baking sheet. So it doesn't need to be a gigantic one. I have sort of a regular sized baking sheet. And I use parchment paper when I bake. So if you have parchment, I would put parchment on it now. If you don't, you could use something, cooking spray to lightly grease it or oil it, or butter or margarine or tin foil with something lightly greased on it. But you want it to not be sticking. So I would just get that ready.
Deborah, Connie has a question.
Yeah.
Connie, unmute yourself so you can ask the question.
Okay, I'm unmuted. You got it now. I had out, it said cookie sheet. Does it make a difference whether it's cookie sheet or baking?
No, cookie sheet's fine.
Okay, and then do we grease underneath the parchment paper and on top of it?
No, if you have parchment paper, you don't need to grease any of it.
Nothing, great.
Nothing. The parchment paper is perfectly, nothing will stick to it.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm now going to turn myself out of here.
All right, so first we're gonna mix the dry ingredients. We're gonna start with 2 cups of flour. So let's all get 2 cups of flour. All right, after 2 cups of flour, you need 1 cup of sugar. So let's all put in a bowl. You can put it right in the mixing bowl that you're gonna mix in. 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of sugar, white sugar.
Deborah, are we going to need a bowl for both the liquid and for the dry? And if so, which one should be bigger?
So we don't really need something else, no. So you can just put everything in the main bowl that you're gonna use. And I'll qualify that in a minute, but really you just need the 1 bowl. So 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar. Okay. And next we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, 1 teaspoon baking powder. All right, so 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then we need about 1/4 to 1/2 a teaspoon of salt. You can use any kind of salt. I like the kosher salt. You can use regular, the fine grain, it doesn't matter. Any kind of salt, about 1/2 a teaspoon, maybe a little less. All right, Tammy, let me know if people say we're all good or if you can get thumbs ups from people. I can't see them. So are we ready to go to the next ingredient? I see some thumbs ups. Sound good? Ready for the next? Okay, so now we need our eggs. So I'm gonna qualify that we need another bowl. If you want to crack your eggs right into this bowl, that's fine. When I do eggs, I crack them 1 by 1 into a smaller, I'm gonna use a measuring cup. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is if I got a piece of eggshell, I don't want it to fall into my batter. But the other reason is because of kosher. I keep kosher. And so if the egg has a blood spot, then it's not a kosher egg. And so I'm not gonna use it. So I prefer to put it in a separate container, crack the egg, make sure there's no blood spots, and then put that egg into my batter. So right now we need 2 eggs. And I did get a piece of shell, so this is good. One egg. Two eggs. And then we need 1 egg white. So if you've never separated an egg before, I'll show you my method. You can use an egg separator, but I don't have one. So if you don't know how to separate an egg, this is what I do. Let's see if I can show you right here. Here's my container. I'm gonna crack my egg about in half. I'm gonna use my thumbs to separate the shell into like 2 equal pieces.
Deborah,
And
Connie has a question.
Yes.
Connie, go ahead.
Okay, I had separated eggs for something else, so I have egg whites in a container. What would be the equivalent amount of an egg white right out of a container?
Of 1 egg white?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if maybe Mara can Google that right now and see like how much is.
Oh, I could ask my Google.
Yeah.
Hey,
I just
Google,
don't know.
what is the volume of an egg white, from a single egg white?
I already put both eggs in. Should I take out the yolk or the white?
You want the white. You don't want the yolk.
1.25 tablespoon, and the white is 2 tablespoons. Do you want a little more context?
No, thank you. The white is 2 tablespoons.
Okay, I was just gonna say, my Alexa said the same thing.
Well, and mine is, hey, Google. Okay, and so what do we do with this egg white? I haven't been paying attention. Okay, so that goes in here.
You want to add that egg white to your batter mixture. So you
Okay,
don't
let's
want the
do
yolk.
it, then I
You've got
say,
2 eggs and 1 white.
okay, so that's like a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Okay, I'm gonna unmute myself.
Okay. Okay, so now we need lemon. So I'm gonna take my lemon. I'm actually gonna rinse it off so I can, in case there's any dirt on it, I'm gonna rinse off my lemon because I want the peel. I have to do this. Sorry, hold on. I need my counter somewhere else today. Okay. That's better. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to use, this is like a lemon zester or grater. If you have that, you can use that, or a cheese grater, or a box grater. And if you don't have it, I would use just like a paring knife. And what you want is you just want to sort of scrape the lemon and get some of the lemon zest into your mixture. If you do not have one and you're not going to do this, you can just go with the lemon juice because we're going to also juice the lemon. But if you can do this, it's just a really fresh flavor and it gives little bits of lemon in the batter. And it's about, honestly, I don't measure, I just sort of use all of what I can get off of the lemon. If you wanted to do orange, you could do orange. If you wanted lime, you could do lime. If you wanted to do grapefruit, you could do grapefruit. So this is one of those sort of flexible recipes that you can substitute in some of the flavorings. Okay, so mine smells really lemony and delicious. I've got lots of lemon zest in there. And now I'm gonna take the juice of this lemon. So any way you can juice it, I have a juicer. If you just wanna cut it and squeeze it, you know, get the pits out and squeeze it over your bowl, that's fine too. So you're gonna get the juice of your lemon. I just noticed I got a seed, so I'm taking it out. They're bitter. Okay. All right, so you should have flour, sugar, baking soda, salt, eggs and an egg white, and your lemon flavors.
Deborah,
Yes.
after the class, will you be able to send us the recipe
Yes.
and I can distribute it to everyone? Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so now I'm going to put it under my mixer.
Connie has a question.
Yes.
Deborah, in the list of ingredients, we got baking powder, but you just said baking soda.
If I said thank you, if I said baking soda, I was wrong. It's baking powder.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever we put in is correct. Thank you.
And how much did you say of that?
We used 1 teaspoon.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to mix it. It's going to be very crumbly at first, and then it should come together in a pretty dense batter, and I'll show you what mine looks like. Okay, so I mixed my batter, and I'm going to say that because we added the lemon juice, at least for mine, my batter is a little sticky and a little loose. I don't know if you can see what I have here, but it's a little bit sticky. So I'm going to add like maybe a couple of spoonfuls of flour just to dry it a little bit. Okay, it's not a perfect, science. Baking is a little bit of chemistry, but I don't know, it feels a little sticky to me, and so I wanted a little bit stiffer. So I'm going to add a couple of spoonfuls of flour. All right, so it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to suggest for the next part, you watch and then do after. So just because it gets a little sticky and a little bit messy. So I want to show you what I'm going to do. So I have my baking sheet over here. And we're going to be taking our batter, and we're going to be making 2 logs of dough, sort of 2 loose rectangular shapes of the batter. So,
Deborah,
yes.
can you show us, like you showed us how it was sticky, can you show us how it's not sticky now?
Yes. Thank you. So it's still a little bit sticky, but it just, the feel of it is a little stiffer. So, I mean, I could probably add a little more flour, but I think I'm just going to go with it. So that's why actually I don't want you to do yet, because if I think it's way too loose, then we're all gonna add more flour. So don't take yours out of the bowl yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a spatula or a spoon, and I'm gonna scoop about half of the dough out. So I'm sort of getting about half of it onto my spatula or spoon or something like that. And I'm gonna put it on one side of my baking sheet. Like this. I'll show you in a minute.
I don't know why the sound is not working.
We'll call.
There's no place I can call.
Somebody having a problem?
So yeah, it's a little sticky, but it's okay. So I put it on the baking sheet, on one side of it, on my parchment. I've made it.
Tammy, can you put Deborah back on spotlight?
A loose rectangular shape.
I believe she's on spotlight. Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna try to even it out a little bit, but if it's not, this is more of an oval, that's okay. Okay, and it's about, I'd say it's about a ½ inch high. And I'm just sort of making it a smooth enough shape, okay? And then I'm gonna do that to the other one.
Can other people see Deborah, or do you have Tammy as your main person that you're looking at?
I can see Deborah.
Okay.
Yeah,
then-
she's on a spotlight.
I can
Okay.
see Deborah and the cookie sheet.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I can't, but that's okay.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do that to my second one, and you guys try that for yours. If you find that it's too sticky, put some flour on your hands and use some flour to sort of pat it. If you think your dough is too soft, gee, I wonder if this is too loose. It's also a humid day.
Did you say 2 egg whites or 4 egg whites?
1 egg white.
Oh.
2 eggs, 1 egg white.
Oh, okay, so the egg whites from both eggs.
Right, 2 eggs that are full, and then 1 additional egg white. Okay?
Are you putting both halves on the same baking sheet?
Yes. And leave some space in between them, because if it spreads, you don't want them to be spreading into each other. That's why I'm just afraid that mine is too loose, but we'll see. It should be okay.
Oops.
All right, well, so here's mine. Here's my 2 loaves. They're spreading a little bit, so I'm not thrilled and I'm a little nervous that I've messed us up, but we're gonna pop these in the oven. So when you have yours done, pop them in the oven at 350. And they're gonna bake for about 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm gonna start with 25. Actually, I'm gonna start with 23, but I think they're gonna need more. Okay, so that's basically batch 1. I'm gonna wash out my bowl so that we can mix up the second batch while this one's baking. All right, so if you have a different bowl, you can use it. I need to wash my mixer bowl because it's the same one, and my spatula and stuff like that. So I'll meet you back in about 2 minutes.
You have all the both?
All right, how are we doing? All right, I'm gonna give everyone another minute to get ready and reset. So while we're sort of washing, I'm just going to riff a little bit on the biscotti. So I did say nuts are optional. So if you wanted, I forgot to add them, but if you wanted to put some kind of a nut in there, lemon I think goes well with almond. Lemon could also go well with pecans. If you're a spice person and you like savory things, lemon basil or lemon rosemary, you know, if you want to put some kind of herbs in it, it could also be a good flavor. I like to sort of go straight lemon. like I said, if you had a different citrus and you wanted to do orange or lime, you could combine the citrus and give those flavors together. But you'll find that it does have a good lemon flavor. So if any other things that go well with lemon, you could add into it. So, but these are just a straight lemon. All right, so people are still moving around a little bit. So the next one we're going to do is a chocolate biscotti. And basically it's the same basic recipe. So we're going to start with 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of sugar. So again, we're starting with 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar. Okay, so 2 cups flour, 1 cup of sugar, and then we want 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. So 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay. And then, as we did before, 1 teaspoon of baking powder and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so the other dry ingredients that are going to go in, we're going to put in about 2 teaspoons of instant coffee granules. So, meaning, like, if you don't have that, that's fine, you can leave it out, but coffee tends to bring out the richness of chocolate and it just goes well with it. If you want to use decaf, you could use decaf. If you want to skip the coffee completely, it's fine. It won't really alter the recipe. It won't taste like mocha. It just brings out the rich flavor of the cocoa.
Deborah, Connie has a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
Would you go back 2 steps to after the baking powder? Because I was doing other things. It wasn't easy to hear you.
Yes,
I have the cocoa in here and the baking powder. And
Okay,
then
so
a cup of sugar.
2 cups flour.
Yeah, I have that.
1 cup sugar.
Okay.
1/4 cup cocoa powder.
Okay.
1 teaspoon baking powder.
Okay.
And then about 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And so now I'm using, and you can skip it if you want to, I'm using about 2 teaspoons of instant coffee. This is not coffee grounds that you would filter. That's not that, but it's the instant coffee that really dissolves well. So I'm using about 2 teaspoons. Okay, and then we want about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you like cinnamon a lot, you could add a little more. If you don't like cinnamon, you could add like 1/4 teaspoon, but about 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay. Then just like before, we need 2 full eggs, and this time we need 2 egg whites. So 2 whole eggs and 2 egg whites. All right. So, flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking powder, salt, coffee if you wanted, cinnamon, 2 eggs and 2 egg whites, and then we're going to put it under our mixer and mix it up. Okay, so I'm noticing that mine is starting out very, very crumbly, and then towards the end, it's just going to come together. So this is definitely a lot stiffer than our lemon dough. This is probably more what we should have gotten. I should have had more flour added to the lemon, but it's fine. I checked it, it's baking fine. So it's going to be really crumbly at first, and you're going to think this isn't coming together, and then it's going to come together to be a pretty thick batter. Yeah, this is good.
Deborah, there was vanilla in the ingredient list. Do we add vanilla?
If you want to. It's one of those things you can or you don't have to. So if you want to add vanilla, it's okay. I left it out today. Okay, so I'm going to show you my batter. It should have come together pretty nicely, and this is definitely much thicker. It's not sticky, which is what you want. So you want it not sticky. I am going to add nuts to this one. So I think chocolate goes well with either hazelnuts or walnuts or pecans. I think I put walnuts or hazelnuts on the list, or pecans or walnuts. So I'm going to add some walnuts to this, totally optional. I'm taking advantage of it. I have a kid who's allergic to walnuts, and he's not here. So I'm putting walnuts in, and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm adding about a half a cup of walnuts, maybe a little more. Yeah, it's much denser, much thicker. Our lemon's going to be fine, but if you do this again, and your lemon or any other dough is too loose, and I had said add a couple of spoonfuls of flour, I would probably keep adding till I got it even thicker. So maybe up to like another half cup of flour. But I would add it little by little so you got it, so it wasn't sticky.
Deborah,
Yes.
if you don't keep kosher, can you add chocolate chips or mini chips? Or
Yes.
would they mess up the baking?
No, you could pretty much add anything you wanted to this. It's a pretty good base recipe. So if you wanted to add chocolate chips, you could. If you wanted to add raisins, you could. If you wanted to add dried cranberries, you could. You can really add anything you like.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. All right, so I have another cookie sheet somewhere. Cookie sheet, baking sheet, whatever. And once again, I'm going to take about half of my dough and make a log, and then another half and make another log.
Question.
Yes.
Ours is really crumbly and it's not really sticking together well. Should we add some water or something to it?
Can you show it to me?
Put it on your laptop.
Hold it a little higher. Yeah, did you put in 2 eggs and 2 egg whites?
Yes,
Are you using a mixer or are you using your hands?
hand mixer.
Hand mixer. So yeah, if it's not coming together, you could add, I would try like at one at a time, like a tablespoon of water. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, again, if it's sticking a lot and you want to put a little flour on your hands or on the top of the log, you can, so you can spread them, but you probably don't need to with this batch as much. Okay, so here's what mine look like. So they're not necessarily evenly shaped, but I have 2 logs of the biscotti dough. Again, they're about a ½ inch or so tall. They will rise a little bit, but they're not going to rise that much. And that's that for now. All right, I'm going to put these down for a minute. I'm just peeking at my lemon ones. Okay, so they're good. Mine are doing fine. They haven't fallen apart, which is good. Okay, so I have about 5 minutes left on the lemon, but they're going to need about 10 more. So it's okay to put the second batch. It's okay to put the chocolate batch in now. They can bake together. So I'm going to put my chocolate batch in right now, and then I'm going to clean up a little bit, and then I'll meet you back.
Deborah,
Yes.
what should the lemon ones look like in case like our ovens are hotter than yours or something like that?
Okay. I'm going to show the camera on the lemon ones. 1 second. So far, these are what mine look like. Can you see?
So mine
they're
are
not-
brown on the edges and beginning to crack a little bit. Does that mean they should come out?
If they are brown on the edges, you might have a high oven. What I would do is I would feel the top. If the top feels sticky and it feels like they're wet underneath, then I would leave them in. But if they feel dense, you might want to stick a knife in and see if there's like wet dough inside. If you're not getting any wet dough inside, you could pull them out. It means your oven is a little faster than mine. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do a little washing, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, any questions up to here so far? All right, so we have 2 batches baking. Again, with the chocolate ones, you can add in other things. So yes, you could add in chocolate chips or raisins or white chocolate. Anything that you sort of like. It's a base recipe, so you can sort of make it your own. And I will send out both recipes later this evening, so you have them for you. I'm checking again on my lemon ones. I have another minute for it to be about 25 minutes. I'm gonna let them go another minute or so. So what we're gonna do next is when we take the lemon ones out, then we're going to let them cool for about a minute. If you have more time, I don't wanna just sit here and do nothing for a while, but we might let them cool for 10 minutes or so, but we're gonna cut them. And after we cut them, we're gonna put them back in the oven and bake for a little bit while longer. We would probably lower the heat if I wasn't baking the second batch at the same time. It won't affect it. You could lower the heat to 325 for the second baking, but if we keep it at 350, it'll be okay. So that's gonna be our next step. When they're done, we're gonna take them out, slice them into the shapes of biscotti, and then bake them a second time. So any other questions, comments? Who's gone to
Deborah, the second baking is what, about 10 minutes? When you when you cut them?
The second baking is about, 1 second. I mean, it depends. It could be about 15, 20 minutes. But today, since we're at 350, so we'll probably do it about 10 or 15. Yeah, it just needs to dry out a little bit. So I'm going to check
And
mine. Yeah, go ahead.
And you don't dip them in anything like mundo bread that you sometimes dip in cinnamon and sugar. You
No.
just bake them plain. Okay.
Just bake them plain.
You bake them as is. You rebake them as is. Thank you.
We bake them as is, yeah. When they're completely done, if you wanted to, I'm not a decorating kind of person, but you could, when they're baked after their second time, you could dip like half of it in melted chocolate and have chocolate on the end, or do a drizzle of chocolate or something like that. But they're not sweet necessarily, so they don't really need it. They sort of taste sweetish on their own, and they're really good if they're dunked in something like coffee or tea or just plain. But they definitely get a little bit more chewy. They're not crispy, but they're not soft. So I'm going to take my lemon ones out. I'm actually going to test it and see if I have wetness inside, and I don't. I'm good. So here's what mine look like taken out. Can we see? Yeah. So they're really not that golden brown on the edges, but you can feel that they're dense. They're not loose. They're not feeling like they're wet Joe at all. If you think yours are still wet, you could stick a knife in and see, and leave them in another couple minutes. All right, so I have mine. I've taken them out of the oven.
Deborah, Carol had a question. She wanted to know if you turn your slices to their side for the second baking.
We will do that, yes. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna get a cutting board. So I'm gonna get a cutting board. I'm gonna put it really close to my tray, because I want to, if I take this up with a spatula, they're all gonna, it might fall apart, and I don't want them to fall apart. So I'm gonna kind of slide it over. Let me see if I can bring this closer and demonstrate a little what I'm doing. Hold on. I don't wanna make you dizzy, but. So I'm sort of loosening underneath them a little bit. Now this one sort of slid up all the way, and I'm putting it on my cutting board. Okay, so I'm doing one at a time. All right, so oh, sorry. What have I done? I've successfully gotten it onto my cutting board. I don't see myself. 1 second. Here we go. Okay. Then I'm going to take a knife. It doesn't matter what kind of a knife. You can use a serrated knife. You can use a regular knife. And I'm going to cut my biscotti. I'm going to cut them sort of at an angle. So meaning, you don't have to do it this way. But can you see on my cutting board? Hold on. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay. So I sort of cut it at an angle. I didn't necessarily cut it straight. You can cut it straight if you want to, but I'm cutting it kind of at an angle. Just gets the pieces to be a little bit longer.
Deborah, how wide?
I'd say they're about a ½ inch wide. I'm going to do this. And it should cut pretty easily. Okay. And yeah, they're cooked inside. They're beautiful, actually. Okay, and then I'm gonna put them on my tray this way. So the cut sides are gonna be facing up. Okay, so the side that I cut is gonna be facing up. The end pieces, it doesn't matter. They're not gonna really face up. So you're gonna put them back on your tray, and you're gonna face those cut sides up. Yeah. And I guess that's the reason why you let them cool. They don't really need to cool for the cutting, it's just more for touching. So if you want to let them cool yourself, that's okay. All right, show the tray, not me necessarily. Okay. All right, so once I've done that, I'm gonna take my second loaf.
You make you full size. It's hard to use it.
It's good. And then I'm gonna cut them again, a little bit of an angle. I cut them at a little bit of an angle because they end up being a little bit longer pieces, which is fun.
Hold on, everyone. I just need to. There we go.
And then again, I put them cut sides up on the tray. So questions about all that? All right. So now we're going to put them back in the oven, and about another 15 minutes, especially since we're on 350. If I didn't have the batch of chocolate in the oven, I would lower my oven, and I'll write this in the recipe, to 325 and bake them for about 15 or 20 minutes. But even at 350, about 15 minutes is fine. 10 if you want to, if they're starting to look too brown. If you have a fast oven and a high oven, then you would take them out. You don't want them to really turn brown. You want them to stay nice and yellow. All right, so I'm going to put these in. Oh, and my chocolate ones smell deliciously of coffee, like I'm sure yours do too. Yeah. All right. All right, and so that's it. I mean, the rest of it is on you. They're going to come out of the oven in about 10 or 15 minutes. You need to be checking your chocolate ones. They've been, I didn't put the timer back on, but we took out the lemon ones about 10 minutes ago. So I think the chocolate ones need about another 10 minutes or so. And then you're going to take those out, slice, and rebake. They will keep, if you wanted to freeze them, they freeze pretty well. So once they're completely cool, you could put them in a Tupperware or a Ziploc bag and freeze them. And they'll keep pretty well. If you keep them in a cookie jar airtight container, they're going to last for at least a week. And they're not going to be hard and crunchy, but they're not going to be soft like a soft chocolate chip cookie. They're going to be sort of in between soft and hard. So that's my biscotti 2 ways, the lemon and the chocolate. I will send the recipes later tonight. Any other questions or questions about any of the process? Yeah.
So ours are partially cooked. I'm not sure, I'm not sure if they're done or not. Can you help me with the screen, Mom?
Wait, I didn't hear what you said, Matt.
Are the partially done ones cooked?
Are those the chocolate ones?
Those are the lemon ones.
The lemon ones, yeah, I think yes, especially since the top's cracked a little bit. I would just make sure that they're not wet inside, but I don't think they are. If they cracked a little bit, that looks perfect. You can cut those. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, can we give a big applause to Deborah for doing this? So next week, Same link, same everything. Barbara Allen will be here. She will be teaching us how to make yes, the exact same thing. Next week, Barbara Allen, who is our wonderful Leslie's mom, will be showing us how to make Duke chicken with peanuts. And when you sign up, just like this week, you will get the list of ingredients. But the one thing you need to know is that she says you need dried peanuts, a half of a cup of dried peanuts, and that they're difficult to find, and she recommends that you order them on Amazon. So I just want to tell you that now so that you will be prepared next week. So dried peanuts, a half of a cup. And
Not dried peanuts, they're raw peanuts.
Raw peanuts, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
Or they'll go crazy saying, what on earth are, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you for correcting me. So they are raw peanuts, a half of a cup. Annie Weidman will be doing Georgian cheese bread. The following week, Steffi will be doing Mama Liga, and the last week, Kate is doing a full Southern spread. So we've got a lot of fun going on here. And again, I just want to thank Deborah. If anybody has any more questions, other than that, we will just end tonight. Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Thank
for coming.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who are all the people who are on
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Hi,
welcome,
Lynn.
everyone.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Larry.
Hello, other Lynn.
There we go. Oh, do we have both Lynn?
More than one Lynn. Get
More,
used to that.
always more than one Lynn. Deborah, I hope you saw my comment that there's no way they'll last a week. No way they'll last a week. I've already eaten the end
It's
pieces
just
before I
me.
put them back in the oven.
Awesome. That's what he does, Joe.
Just me, it better last a week.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Deborah,
Bye,
you
guys.
Deborah, you did an awesome job. It was
Yeah,
really
for sure.
great. Mhm.
Thank
Really,
you.
really
It was
good.
fun. Thank you for asking me. I've never done this before. It was great.
Good. I'm glad.
Thanks.
Fun.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, how do you
Take
turn off
care.
here?